Hey guys, this is Mikko. In this video I want to talk about this brush that I'm using for this painting and also about painting speed, because a lot of you have been asking in my videos how long did this painting take you? And I think those questions are always subjective to those paintings where those questions are being asked. So in this video I want to cover the topic of painting speed and what that means to me and my paintings. Also, we're going to take a look at some of the Art from Comfort Zone challenge entries, and these people gave me a permission to share their artwork on this channel. And also I want to talk about my own channel membership and all the cool art educational content that I am making there, because this video doesn't have a sponsor, so I guess I'm paying for this video so I can talk about this membership stuff. Now I have made membership content for a few weeks, so I have a better understanding what is possible with the platform, but it's still a work in progress. So we have a lot to cover. Let's get started. As you can see in the beginning of this painting video, I am making just these like completely random quick brush strokes. When it comes to painting speed, I think this part is the most important part. So I'm gonna just quickly rewind to this part where I'm making these messy brush strokes. That is where the painting is actually happening. The rest of the process is just going to be polish. But it took me some time to realize that that cloud formation that I made in the very beginning, that is what I'm most interested in this painting. And I tried all these different ideas and I just deleted all of the unnecessary clutter, because I don't need like set dressing to disguise the thing that is in front of the main area of focus that I am more interested in painting. The speed for me has come from the fact that when I'm in this like quick sketching phase, I am very kind of ruthless towards the work that I am doing. I can delete pretty much any amount of work if I feel like it's not going anywhere in this phase. And I am only able to do that because I work so fast that I don't feel like I'm losing a day of work when I just scrapping all of these very loose sketching ideas, because I am not time invested in them. So having this sort of like looseness requires, I think, a lot of confidence in the fact that you are going to work on the painting until it's done. At this phase, please don't try to review your own work. I know that some start painting and in the first 2 hours it might still look like a complete mess, but that just means that you have work left to do. It doesn't mean that the painting turned out bad. When it comes to productivity and speed, I want to talk about speed more in terms of how many paintings I'm able to get done in a year rather than how quickly I can do a single painting. Because to get that volume up, I think the single biggest factor has been that I don't leave paintings unfinished. Whatever I start painting, it's going to be done one way or another. It might change drastically throughout the process, and I'm open to that, but I will find a way to finish and publish that work. And to me, finishing is the same thing as publishing artwork. If it's just stuck on my iPad, then it's just not ready yet. To get to that point, I am doing everything possible to make the painting be as good as it can be. And if I don't feel that way yet, that just means that it's not done, and I will keep working on it till I start making other paintings. But I don't start 5 different paintings, because I know from past experience and mistakes that if you just keep starting new paintings, it's always going to feel more fun and exciting to start a new painting, because it's full of those endless possibilities. You haven't run into those like visual problem solving parts yet. So of course it's going to feel more exciting, because you feel like you can do pretty much anything now. You don't have to solve those problems that felt like they were causing you anxiety before, because now you have a new painting and you can use different colors and like pretty much everything is open. But as a working professional, you at some point realize that that visual problem solving phase will come with every single painting that you do. And this is why I am such a strong believer of painting in your comfort zone, because art will be just as challenging no matter what you do, because you will ramp up the difficulty on your own without any additional prompting. So every painting is difficult to do because every painting is new and they come with their own set of visual problems. And because you haven't done that specific painting yet, you are going to have to solve new problems every time. So I recommend getting used to this phase where it starts feeling like, oh, it's not turning out great. There's something wrong, but I just can't put my finger on it. That feeling will come with every painting, because you are going to have to find that problem and you are going to have to put your finger on it, literally, to fix that area with each painting. And it's so exciting when you find that magic button, when the visual problem just resolves itself and you realize that you almost left the painting to die and then you revived it. That feels like you're a superhero with each painting. And that's why I also have stopped letting paintings go unfinished, because that is really the slowest way to paint 5 paintings and finish only 1. If you're developing your art skills, that also slows your progress in learning new things, because only when you publish, then you apply that extra level of critical eye to have that like fear of like publishing your work to other people. It makes you think harder and try harder. So that's why I think publishing always matters. And that's why I think it's also important not to leave your paintings unfinished, because you might be leaving like a real masterpiece and you just don't know it yet. You can't know how the audience is going to react to your painting before it's done. But I think if I have a finished painting that I don't show to other people, I am kind of like stealing. I feel like I was given this idea in the painting process, and that painting idea or that end result, like, it's not mine to keep. Sure, I did all the manual part of the work, but I can't say from any of my paintings that like I had that exact idea just that way painted. There's always a bit of like creative input that comes. Maybe it's from your subconscious or the things that you experience and they are kind of like blending in your memories, but I have no control over that. That stuff just surfaces to visible canvas when I'm painting. It's not like a conscious thought process. So I feel like it's not my place to keep paintings from being seen by other people, because they feel like they are also a gift to me. And this way I can kind of keep my ego in check, because I don't feel like I'm driving 100% of the time. Actually, I think I'm more of an assistant in this process. And that might seem silly, but it's really the thing that is keeping my head together. Because if I assumed all of the responsibility for my paintings, I think that would feel pretty crushing, because sometimes I'm also financially dependable on my painting skills, and that would feel horrifying. I am doing the work, but I can't take credit for all the ideas. They just kind of happen somehow, and I can do my best to make them happen in a visually pleasing way. That process of painting requires a lot of focus, and I think the best moments in painting is, and I'm sure that all of you have experienced this, is that when you're painting and suddenly you completely lose the track of time. So the speed of painting doesn't really matter when you are in the best possible mode of painting. You are just completely sucked into the painting itself and just focused on what the painting needs, and kind of like working in this sort of servitude mode. And that moment brings me the greatest happiness that I experience in life. The only bad thing about this is that it sometimes happens during live streams. When I'm painting live, I am looking at the iPad screen. So the text of the chat in the live stream is happening on a separate screen, and I have to look up and focus on the chat to read what people are saying. Because the live stream would be pretty boring if I just looked at the chat and drank coffee, I need to keep painting, and that causes me to sometimes miss comments. And in the last live stream that I did, there was a student that was in one of my concept art courses called Tukkaa Tuutti, and I completely missed that comment. I'm sorry, I was painting. And this person said that they were in my class and they just got an iPad and started painting with Procreate, which I think is cool. I think especially for students, Procreate is great because you are not overwhelmed with tools that are unnecessary. And that's why I still like it the most, because I think Procreate is very fitting for just like focusing on the art and painting. Because if I want to do like design work or editing, I can always open up Photoshop for that, because it's for that specific purpose. But I painted with Photoshop for over 15 years, and the tools were always distracting. I noticed that in my workflow, and it affected my paintings. And now that those are out of my screen, I can just focus on the painting, and I enjoy that a lot more. But the reason why I brought up this student is because in my classes there has been every year few of these exercises where we are painting a huge volume of work in a very short amount of time, and to top it all off, you have to show that work to other people in a review session later, where those pieces are shown and everybody can see them. If any of my students are watching this, they might think that like, why are you talking about speed and saying that speed doesn't matter when we had this exercise? I guess I have to like show all my cards here and reveal the secret that this exercise is not about painting speed. Yes, in the industry, you sometimes have to come up with new designs really quickly and be able to provide those sketches, but you don't have to practice speed. Speed comes on its own when you just paint for long enough. But if you paint in this sort of like speed painting mode, all of your work, when you are just studying art, it's gonna get really hard to learn to paint anything. Because let's say, for example, that you want to learn how to paint a car and you haven't done any cars before, and you just want to start doing them quickly, and you do quick 15 cars. You are not going to learn how to do a car if you don't do a single one correctly. I would recommend doing at least 15 cars with as much time that you have to do that study accurately. But when you're in like speed painting mode, you are not going to have time to make those sort of like judgments or develop that sort of muscle memory. I would advise against speed painting, especially if you're just starting out, because it doesn't really help, and the speed is not really a skill that you need to practice separately. It comes on its own. So the reason why I brought up that exercise is that if there are any students that have been in my classes, you have probably been through this exercise where we are painting tons of paintings in a kind of like speed painting way. The reason why we are doing those paintings is not to develop speed. And I don't really tell this in the class because it's the kind of secret trick that I get them to learn the more important thing. And I'm going to reveal the trick now. And that is that the point of this exercise is not to learn to paint fast, but to learn to show other people work that has been done in a tight deadline and work that might not be completely finished or polished yet. And they have to do it repeatedly to people that they know in class, and everybody sees that artwork. And it's kind of like emotionally safe environment to do that, because everybody also knows that they all had the same time limits. So that feels incredibly scary, and I think it helps people to publish their artwork, because you're never going to be 100% sure what other people think of your work. And the point of this exercise is to develop creative courage to publish your artwork. When you're working on commercial projects, you are going to have to show unfinished sketches to other people in the project, or approve drafts of your ideas that are not polished, because you're not going to have time to polish everything before you send the idea for approval. So you have to get over that fear somehow, and I think it's better to practice it than to just go into work life and try to survive these incredibly difficult situations. To me, the most important part when I'm doing any sort of like art teaching is not to teach everybody to paint well, but if I can teach them to fail and still keep working, I think if they learn that, then there's no limit to what they can do. And if they learn that skill, I have 100% confidence that they are going to be great at painting, and if that is something that they want to do with their lives. Often when I feel frustrated that the painting is just not being finished fast enough, it's never really about the painting. Like, that frustration never comes from the fact that the painting is not done. It's all these other things that are outside of the painting that are giving this time pressure to me. And mostly it's just my ego. Like, I want to have content to publish. I want my numbers to go this way or that way. And it's all just like very selfish, like me thinking. Like, none of that has anything to do with doing what is right for the painting and what the painting needs. In my years of painting, I've noticed that there is this certain calm attitude that you need to have towards creativity. You might want to get to the finish line much faster than what the pace of the painting is. And the painting is not going to be finished any faster than it's going to be finished. There's no point in me having a temper tantrum that I have all of these other things coming. The painting really doesn't care at all. It has its own message to say, and it's going to take as long as it needs to say that thing. I can have like my own childish moment and bring up my ego and say that like I want to have all of these things. But if I actually want to get to the finished painting, I need to put all of those wants and desires outside of this workroom and just like focus on the painting. Otherwise, it's never gonna get done. The way that I focus on the painting is by giving it all of my attention and just listening. Where are the problem parts? What do I actually need to solve? And so on. Like, it just needs attention, a lot of attention. And if I just keep thinking about myself, I'm not working and the painting is not gonna get done. And that's going to slow everything down and I'm going to feel frustrated. And most of all, I'm not going to enjoy the process. And I think this is incredibly relevant for this painting, because I had that moment that I felt like, why is this not finished yet? But when I just focused on what the painting wants to be, I realized that this is like one of the most calming, silent, beautiful places that I have been in weeks. And it was just a very humbling experience that I noticed that like I was being selfish and the painting had all of these beautiful experiences to offer to me at a time when I feel like I'm under such deadlines and pressure, that this is the exact thing that I needed. I just needed to notice that it's happening right on the screen. And when this happened, then of course I was enjoying the process, and weirdly enough, time vanished again and I was able to paint the painting faster. So if there's any takeaway from this, is that speed doesn't really matter at all in comparison to the things that art can give me and the things that I can experience through art. When I'm able to go into that flow state and work in the service of the painting, all of those other selfish things like my social media content and such, it just seems so silly and insignificant in comparison, because I feel like art is bigger than any of that and it's more important than those things. And sometimes I feel like art is more important than I am. And when I have that feeling, I feel like I'm doing work that has purpose. But if we take this experience away and just think about the practical, technical side of painting, you still have all those visual problems that are going to be unique to each painting. You are going to need to give it your full attention to figure out those visual problems. I think it's better to think that you're not the boss of the painting, you're the student of your painting. Because your painting is teaching you how to paint that painting while you are painting it. That is why every painting is also worth finishing, because otherwise you will never get those learning experiences. This painting is part of my Art from Comfort Zone challenge, and if you want to take part in this challenge, you can find more information about it in this video, or you can just read the rules in the description in this video. I want to feature 3 paintings that I have seen lately that I thought were inspiring. The first painting you can see under the username Holly Lian Design. and I recommend that you check out these artists' Instagram pages. I'm gonna provide links in the description below. What I like about this painting is that the texture is like very fitting to the painting, and I especially like the fact that you left that texture visible in the clouds, because I can imagine that it's tempting to kind of like blend away all of those brushstrokes. But here I think it has like a very tactile physical feeling that looks really cool. The second one is from Evo Art Studio, and like this is just like super realistic. I especially like the way that the material looks like almost like you could touch it. And speaking of time, I'm sure that this has taken a lot of time to paint. The detail is really like worth the effort that you have put into this. And I like the fact that you didn't feel the need to add unnecessary clutter in the background. When you just want to do like one dice painting, that's completely fine, and I think that works here. The last one is from Belinda, who uses a username Vibrant Paper on Instagram. You can also find her gallery in the links below, and I think that this painting is just so joyful to look at. I'm gonna issue an extra challenge for this artist, because I'm sure that you will get better over the years as you keep painting, but I hope that you will keep this painting and return to it 10 years from now, and hopefully you will feel like it's just as joyful as it was. I think this piece shows that like art is not just about skill. You can get the mood across with any skill level once you have committed to it, and I challenge anyone to look at this piece and not to smile. In this Art from Comfort Zone challenge, the first rule is to describe in your caption what it is about that work that you enjoy doing. And obviously in this painting, the number one thing that I enjoyed is that sort of like peacefulness and quiet that this painting and working on it gave me. And it's the exact thing that I needed when I was working on this. This painting is done with the snow brush, and that brush is the first one that I have made since I released my brush back on Gumroad. And the idea for this brush came to me one day when I was walking my dog Vivi on this snowy field, and it was such a nice day, and the snow was like hard enough that it could carry both of us without sinking knee deep into the snow. I remember thinking that like I could take a photograph, but it somehow is very temporary and doesn't stay with me. So I decided to make a brush out of this experience. So I took some photographs of the snow itself, and I used that as the grain of the brush. Then I picked up my dog, Vivi, and then I used her like a stamp on the snow on few parts. And then I took a photograph of the paw prints in the snow, and I used one of these paw prints to work as the source of the brush. When I was making this brush, obviously I thought that this is such a crazy idea that it's probably not going to be a usable tool, but what surprised me is just how well the snow texture works in brushes. And I remember that I was like so excited when I get that sort of like dilution effect working that is mixing the color on the canvas. And then I just realized that like I am doing this Art from Comfort Zone challenge, and I am challenging people to notice the moments when they like and enjoy the work that they are doing. And then I realized that like this is what I like doing, that I haven't released any brushes because I've been so committed to the brush pack that I released as a product, and making that product felt like so anxiety inducing because it was the first digital product that I had ever made, and I just like wanted it to be like done as well as possible. So there was just like huge amount of pressure, and that's why it took me almost 3 years to release that single brush pack. So knowing that I could just release this one brush for the members of my community, it just kind of like took away all of that bad stuff from the brush making process, and I was left with only like the creative fun stuff. And because I knew that I don't have to commit to this one brush for the rest of my life, I could do like crazier decisions with it. That was like super fun. I can't even describe what it is like, but when a brush just starts working and I get to do like a full finished painting with it, and I realized that like this is a useful tool that is like super exciting for me. I wouldn't call it art, but it's definitely a creative process. So I didn't want to tell this story of how the brush was made before this, because I didn't want anybody to dismiss it just because it's using my dog's paw. But honestly, I wouldn't change it. I love the source file of the paw, and I think that is what gives the brush its like own unique texture, and it feels like I get to paint with my dog, which is weird, but somehow it seems to work. There's no sponsor for this video, so I wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody who has joined my channel. When I created the channel membership, I didn't want to commit to like specific method of creating content for members, and the reason behind this is because I think it's important for me to explore the different opportunities rather than set a treadmill that would just make me burn out as fast as possible. And that way I am able to create more content. But when I created the membership, I specifically avoided language that like every month I'm going to do this or that, because I know from experience that that would be a way for me to burn out and just quit YouTube completely. So I wanted to avoid that kind of language just to protect myself. But now that I have made content for my memberships for a few weeks, I've noticed that I enjoy making these more practical tutorials or art theory lectures. So right now I have made these videos in addition to all of this other content, and my long-term plan now is to create these sort of like technical tutorials on every single art topic that I can think of. So when people ask me how do I do this or that stuff, then I will in the future be able to just point, go watch this video. It's the perfect way to teach that stuff. I know that this is like a long-term goal, but I think it's a goal worth working for, because I think this is the way for me to provide this sort of information at the lowest possible cost. These videos don't have any ads, and I also provide some long-form videos of my process, so those are completely unedited footage that is just sped up. So those are hours long if you want to see the entire process, and if you have any questions about specific parts of a painting or how to do that technically, then you can always ask me in the comments. So thank you for all the people who have joined this channel thus far, and everybody who can't afford to join my channel, please save your money. I think it's important to be financially smart at this time, and just by being here you are helping this channel grow. I'm not going to jinx it by giving it any deadline, but we are approaching that big number that I think we should all be excited about. Thank you for watching this video, and if you haven't done so yet, go and join the Art from Comfort Zone challenge and go and explore that hashtag, because there's a lot of talented people there making work, and I think it's especially inspiring to read those captions and see what people enjoy about their art, because I think reading that stuff has been the most inspiring aspect about this whole challenge, at least for me. So I hope that you go and enjoy that aspect as well. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!